Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy, Sports and Fitness Rants? I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today. As usual, man, you guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys, and holding the standard. And in this video, I want to talk about the top 5 players of the 2000s. And, man, I don't know, guys. This is hard for me. The first 3 names, I had no problem. But then after the 4th, 5th, it started getting tough for me to come up with a top 5 or definitive top 5 list of the top 5 players of the 2000s. We're going to talk about in this video, guys, because to me, like I said, it was very hard for me to get, a top 5. Like I said, the first couple of names were a no-brainer to me. But after that, it started to get tough for me, guys. And I tried to put, my favoritism away and my bias away with some of these guys on this list, man. But we're going to talk about in this video, guys. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states has been supporting my channel. I want to send a special thanks out to Kevin Lou, who comes through with the super thanks yesterday. Thank you very much to Kevin Lou. I am truly humbled, man. You guys, like I said, you guys humble me, man. You guys tell me that you appreciate the energy and the effort that I give in my videos. Like I said, I know my videos aren't fancy or flashy, but I try to give you guys effort, and I try to give you guys the facts, man, and I give you the perspective. That's all I can give you guys. Like I said, I don't have anything fancy to give you or editing or any of this stuff, man. I try to give you guys the facts, man, and you guys know that I give you guys the effort, man. I'm giving you me, man. So much respect to all you guys. I try to educate you guys on the facts, man, and we try to hold the standard and set the record straight. So thank you to Kevin Lou and all the people out there, everyone in the membership. I'm truly humbled, guys. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, much respect to all you guys out there. I try to remain consistent for you guys. And I try to always hit you guys with the facts, man. Like I said, and give you the perspective of someone who grew up watching a lot of this stuff in the 80s and the 90s. And my perspective on what we see today versus back then. And some of these other players versus some of the guys back then. I'm giving you perspective, guys. That's what it is here. So I put out a thing the other day, and I asked you guys, I don't know if it was like maybe a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, about the top 5 players of the 2000s, or the top, I think it was the top 5 players of the 2000s, and I just wrote down a bunch of names, right? I just wrote down a bunch of names of guys. I don't know how many names it was. It might have been 15 or 20 guys of names that I wrote down of, of all those players, who are the top 5 players of the 2000s, man. And I'll be honest, I thought it would have been an easy list for me. It wasn't easy for me, guys. Now, maybe for some of you guys know I have a definitive top 5 list. Now, once again, I grew up watching the late 80s and the 90s era of NBA, guys. That's what I remember the most. That's what I was, a hardcore fan of growing up. That's what I watched, man. The late 80s, 90s era of NBA, the golden era. But when I went to the military in 1999, and I was in the military from 1999 to 2003, when you're in the military, you don't really have access to TV as much. Obviously, I think everyone gets that. So from those years, especially the early 2000s, 2000 to 2003, I didn't really get to watch basketball as often as I was used to. I wasn't able to be a hardcore basketball fan where every time there was a game on or I was available, I would watch these games, right? My life was changing. I was becoming a lot more busy. I said, I'm in the military. I don't have access to TVs like that. I don't have the same freedom as I did, when I was in high school or, like I said, when I was a kid growing up. We get that kind of stuff. So I wasn't able to watch basketball as much, but I was still a fan of the league. I still followed it, when I could. But when I was thinking about the list of the top 5 players of the NBA in the 2000s, now listen, this is strictly off of guys that to me are 2000s era players, right? Because we can all say, sometimes, for example, people will say like, oh, who are the top 10 players or the top 5 guys of the 80s? And, you might have Michael Jordan at number 5. And we get that. But Michael Jordan is mostly considered a 90s era player, right? We get that. So I'm trying to, just kind of narrow this down and limit this to the guys that we consider the 2000s era players. So yes, a lot of these guys, some of these guys, they may have came in the NBA in the 90s, the late 90s. We get all of that. So that's how I looked at this. And it was hard, guys. So like I said, let's think about this. The first couple of names I think we all know, those are no-brainers. We all get that. Kobe Bryant, obviously, a top 5 player of the 2000s. You don't got to think about this. Kobe Bryant, no need to go off the resume and talk about Kobe Bryant. We talk about Kobe Bryant on this channel a lot, right? We talk about what he meant to the game, the impact he had, all of these things, man. Kobe Bryant, man. The Mamba mentality, right? You go to shoot something in the garbage, you yell Kobe. This is the inspiration that Kobe get left out there for the people. I've mentioned many times, there's over 300 murals of Kobe Bryant all over the world, not in America, all over the world. There's the level of respect, how people honor Kobe Bryant. This is what he earned. Kobe Bryant, easily top 5 player of the 2000s, right? I think we all can argue he's the greatest player of his era, right? The next player up, Tim Duncan, obviously, because this is who the debate's against. Who are the greatest players of the 2000s? It always comes down to a Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant debate. And for me, I told you guys I would probably pick Kobe Bryant over Tim Duncan. But if you told me that you had Tim Duncan ahead of Kobe Bryant, I don't think that's absurd or ridiculous. I don't think that at all. To me, Tim Duncan is a top 10 player in NBA's history, along with Kobe Bryant. And like I said, I respect both of their careers. I respect their games. I respect how they went about their business, how they carried themselves. So, like I said, Tim Duncan's worthy to be in that debate with Kobe Bryant as the greatest player of the era. Like I said, if you had either one of them above each other, no problem with that, guys. And then I think Shaquille O'Neal was the third name that I had on there. I think, once again, Shaquille O'Neal, to me, I always considered him a 2000s era player. But if you told me, or you considered Shaq a 90s era player, I could see that also, because he came in really in a weird time. Remember, he came in the 92-93 season. So, when you think about Michael Jordan coming in the 84-85 season, that's like the middle of the decade, right? Going towards the end. Shaq came in 93. That's kind of the beginning of the decade, not really the middle. So he had more years in the 90s than I think a lot of people remember. But he's mostly remembered or regarded as a 2000s era player because, to me, that's when he really became Shaq. He couldn't dominate like that in the 90s when you have prime David Robinson, prime Hakeem Olajuwon, prime Patrick Ewing, right? You have all these other guys. You have, the youngsters like, the Dikembe Mutombo, a young Alonzo Mourning, like you said, who came in with Shaquille O'Neal. But you had, some of these older guys, and they were in their primes. So Shaq wasn't able to dominate, like he was in the 2000s because, those guys were there. So he wasn't making all NBA first teams those first couple of years because you had these other great centers ahead of him. Those are just the facts, guys, right? He wasn't winning no MVPs in the 90s, right? Because of the great players like Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, and Charles Barkley, and Hakeem Olajuwon, and David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, all these great players that played in the 90s, Shaq couldn't crack an MVP. So Shaquille O'Neal, to me, is the third greatest player of the 2000s. And this is where things started to get interesting for me, and this is where I started to have problems. I went with Kevin Garnett at number 4. To me, Kevin Garnett, one of those guys. The overall game of Kevin Garnett, sensational. One of my younger brothers, my brother who's right behind me, he's 3 years younger than me. His favorite player, Kevin Garnett. Loves Kevin Garnett. And, I remember he had the Kevin Garnett jersey for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And like I said, he was always a big Kevin Garnett fan. Always, the big ticket, the big ticket, the big ticket. That's what my brothers always say. The big ticket, the big ticket. And Kevin Garnett, like I said, his overall game, his skill set at that size, his two-way play, his ability to knock down the perimeter jump shots, his fiery demeanor, his competitive fire, all that stuff, man. I liked Kevin Garnett also, man. He wasn't my favorite player, but I liked Kevin Garnett like my brother did. I thought Kevin Garnett was very sensational. Like I said, these guys had longevity. Kevin Garnett won a Defensive Player of the Year award at like 31 years old or whatever it was. Like I said, Kevin Garnett, one of the great players of the 2000s. And to me, he's probably number 4, right behind, like I said, Kobe, Duncan, Shaq. I'm going with Kevin Garnett, man. Now, I know that a lot of people have debates, Kevin Garnett versus Dirk Nowitzki, the Tim Duncans. You think about some of the great power forwards, Amari Stoudemire's, some of these other guys, Chris Webber, Rasheed Wallace. Some of the great power forwards that played in the 2000s. LaMarcus Aldridge, I'm not sure what year he came in. I think he might have came in like the mid-2000s. I'm not sure. But you think about some of these power forwards. So, to me, Garnett was greater than Dirk Nowitzki. I can't put Dirk Nowitzki above Kevin Garnett. To me, what Kevin Garnett did on the defensive end alone, it trumps what Dirk Nowitzki did offensively. So, yeah, we get Dirk Nowitzki probably the greatest shooting power forward in the history of the game. And we all know that 2011 run, what he did, sensational. Like I said, no take away from him. I just can't put Dirk Nowitzki above Kevin Garnett, guys. To me, Kevin Garnett, like I said, what he does on the defensive end and rebounding, to me, Dirk Nowitzki was a very poor rebounder at that position, at that size. Just wasn't a good rebounder. It wasn't even a good or solid rebounder. He was a mediocre, poor rebounder, Dirk Nowitzki. Wasn't a very good defensive player, Dirk Nowitzki. But poor defender, mediocre at best. Kevin Garnett, an elite defender at that position. Once again, the playmaking skills of Kevin Garnett, to me, were greater than Dirk Nowitzki's. The overall, like I said, just the way that the fiery demeanor, the competitive fire of a Kevin Garnett, the rebounding of Kevin Garnett, much greater rebounder than Dirk Nowitzki, not even close. So to me, give me Kevin Garnett over Dirk Nowitzki. And like I said, so that's 4. And now, guys, this is why I couldn't come up with a decision, guys. I was torn between 3 players. It came down to 3 guys for me. It came down to Dirk Nowitzki, Allen Iverson, and Jason Kidd. To me, those guys were in heavy contention for the fifth spot of a top 5 players of the 2000s, guys. This is where I'm at. This is where I was at. And I'm telling you guys right now, this was a tough decision for me. Now, once again, this is not going to make or break any of these guys. Oh, man, Sports and Fitness Rants, and then it ranks so-and-so number 5 in the top 5 list. Right, it means nothing. This is just for us talking, guys, and the debates, the conversations, and the respect that we have for these guys, right? That we do these lists. And it's like I said, it's fun to have these conversations to see where you guys think these guys ranked, or, maybe you guys had other names. Maybe I'm way off here. So it came down to, like I said, Jason Kidd, Dirk Nowitzki, Allen Iverson, guys. I went with Jason Kidd, man. I went with Jason Kidd. I know you guys are probably not going to agree with me on that one, but I went with Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Kidd. Those are my top 5 players of the 2000s. And the reason why I went with Jason Kidd was, to me, when I compared Jason Kidd to a Dirk Nowitzki and an Allen Iverson, remember, this is just versus those 2 guys for this 5th spot that I had. Like I said, maybe you guys have a different order. Maybe you guys had someone else. It's just for this. Dirk Nowitzki, to me, great player, man. But to me, I feel like let's think about the 2011 championship, guys, right? Jason Kidd was on that team, and Dirk Nowitzki, was he not? Jason Kidd was played a huge role on that team. Jason Kidd at that age still played really good defense. Not great defense like he was in his peak, but very good defense, man. Still very good defender at that age, Jason Kidd, man. When you think about Jason Kidd, he led the postseason in assists that year, guys. In assists during that run. So that's a huge impact that you had. Jason Kidd at that age led the postseason in assists. And once again, was playing a key role defensively during that postseason run. So for me, without Jason Kidd, there is no championship for Dirk Nowitzki in 2011. When we think about Jason Kidd's overall career, the man, I believe, was made 6-time All-NBA. 5 of them were All-NBA firsts. 5 All-NBA firsts. And you're talking about in an era where you're at the guard position. Remember, guys, All-NBA selections all go by position. Guards, forwards, and a center. It doesn't matter if you're a shooting guard, a point guard, a small forward, a power forward. You can have all power forwards. You can have 2 point guards. It's all about the position. Guard, forward, center. So, Jason Kidd's going against Allen Iverson for All-NBAs. He's going against Kobe Bryant for All-NBAs. He's going against Vince Carter for All-NBAs, or Tracy McGrady, or Steve Nash for All-NBA selections. Later on, early the 2000s, guys like Gary Payton were still making All-NBA selections, guys. So, when we think about that, we think about guys like Tim Hardaway was making All-NBA selections. John Stockton was making All-NBA selections in the early 2000s still. Michael Redd, Ray Allen. These are some of the guys, Stephon Marbury, that Jason Kidd was going against at the point guard position, at the guard position in general, for his All-NBA selections. So he made, out of 6 All-NBA selections, 5 of them were first-team All-NBA, guys. Dirk Nowitzki has 12 All-NBA selections. That's outstanding, Dirk Nowitzki. But, guys, 4 of them were All-NBA firsts. Once again, the competition was there, right? You're going against guys like Amari Stoudemire. You're going against guys like Tim Duncan. You're going against guys like LeBron James. You're going against guys like Tracy McGrady. You're going against guys like Chris Webber. You're going against guys like, Rasheed Wallace. These are your competitions, the Kevin Garnetts for these All-NBA selections. So we get all of that. But 4 All-NBA first team, Jason Kidd had 5. Allen Iverson, 7 times All-NBA guys, 3 times All-NBA first. Once again, there's no knock on these guys. The competition was stiff. But Jason Kidd had more All-NBA selections than first team, than Dirk Nowitzki, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, all these guys. When we talk about Jason Kidd's impact on the game, on the court, what he does for your team, to me, his impact was greater than Dirk Nowitzki or Allen Iverson's. And once again, like I said, if you put Allen Iverson above Jason Kidd, no problem with that. You put Dirk Nowitzki above Jason Kidd, no problem with that, guys. This is, like I said, this is a problem I had. It was a tough situation for me here. And I went with Jason Kidd because Jason Kidd, to me, could just do more things at a high level than Dirk Nowitzki could or than Allen Iverson could. We all know Allen Iverson, one of the elite scorers, right, had the heart and the grit Up there, elite level. Jason Kidd can't sniff Allen Iverson scoring the ball. But what Allen Iverson, other things that Allen Iverson didn't do, he didn't have the leadership of a Jason Kidd to me, right? He didn't even want to practice. There's no knock on Allen Iverson. That was him. That was the way he was. That was his demeanor. That was his swag. That was his personality. We get all that. And we respect. He's iconic because of that, Allen Iverson. But he wasn't a leader of a Jason Kidd. Couldn't rebound like Jason Kidd. Couldn't play defense anywhere the level of Jason Kidd. And Allen Iverson gave effort in the passing lanes, right? He would go out there and take risks. But he was never a solid defender or a guy that would stay in front of his man. Jason Kidd, one of the elite defenders at the point guard position. You're talking about guys like Gary Payton, Dennis Johnson, Walt Clyde Frazier, right? Norm Van Leer, Jason Kidd. These are the elite defenders at the point guard position, man. Rajon Rondo, some of these guys. So to me, what Jason Kidd could do rebounding defensive-wise, and we all know about his passing ability, when you talk about Allen Iverson scoring, that's what Jason Kidd was passing, right? Allen Iverson, the elite level scorer. Jason Kidd, the elite level playmaker, elite defender. He's probably the greatest rebounder at that position. Give me Jason Kidd rebounding over Russell Westbrook, guys, at that position. Jason Kidd rebounded in an era with legit big men, where guys were battling down low for rebounds, guys. Battling down low. Were they not? So give me Jason Kidd, possibly the greatest rebounding point guard in the history of the game. His leadership, the man carried 2 teams to the finals. Because a lot of times, Allen Iverson gets a lot of credit for taking that Sixers team to the finals. Jason's Kidd team was worse, guys. It was worse. Jason Kidd didn't have a Dikembe Mutombo on his team, even though I think Dikembe Mutombo was there a couple years later. Wasn't a Defensive Player of the Year award winner, Dikembe Mutombo. He was older. So you had an old Dikembe Mutombo. Allen Iverson had a younger one. But you had guys like Kenyon Martin, Richard Jefferson, which were quality players. So to me, the teams were comparable. But Jason Kidd went back-to-back finals. Went to back-to-back finals. And he actually, once again, when you watch this, we all know the first championship against Lakers, they didn't have a chance. But the second championship against the Spurs, the series was tied 2 games apiece. And in Game 5, the New Jersey Nets had a chance to win that game. And guys like Steven Jackson stepped up for the San Antonio Spurs in that series. The Manu Ginobili's, the Tony Parkers. But Jason Kidd had that New Jersey Nets team competing with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Steven Jackson. Like, he had these guys competing. Actually, I'm trying to think, was Manu Ginobili on the team? I don't know if Manu Ginobili was on that team yet. I know Tony Parker was. I don't know if Manu Ginobili was yet. But you had a quality team there. And Jason Kidd had these guys competing, man. Like I said, they won 2 games. It was 2-2, and they lost in 6. We get that. Even Game 6 was a close game. So, Allen Iverson, I respect. You guys know I love Allen Iverson, man. Him winning a game against that Lakers team, very impressive. Like I said, the New Jersey Nets with Jason Kidd, they got swept in 0-2, right? They didn't even win a game. So when we think about that, I went with Jason Kidd, Allen Iverson. To me, the overall game of Jason Kidd, to me, is a little underrated. To me, he's arguably a top 5 point guard in the history of the game. To me, he's easily a top 5 passer in the game. To me, the greatest rebounding point guard in the history of the game from what I saw, what I watched. And like I said, his defensive ability is probably a top 5 defensive point guard in the history of the game. So I went with him over Dirk Nowitzki and Allen Iverson, guys. Like I said, if you put Dirk at 3 or at 4th, above Kevin Garnett and had Kevin Garnett 5th, got no problem with that either. Like I said, if you told me that Allen Iverson was above Jason Kidd or above Garnett or above Nowitzki and you had him in 4th or 5th, I got no problem with that either, guys. This was very tough for me. I like Jason Kidd. He was probably my favorite player of the 2000s. I tried to put my bias aside here. And like I said, the impact that Jason Kidd had, what he could do, the man never got tired. The guy could play all these minutes. He was always on the court. Yeah, we all know that he could not shoot, but he worked on his shot. And he became a serviceable 3-point shooter. And like I said, his impact on that Dallas Mavericks team can't be denied. The leadership, the defensive effort, the presence he had, and his assists, his playmaking was still elite. So Jason Kidd, to me, was the number 5 guy on my top 5 list. So I went with Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Kidd, man. And I think it's a pretty formidable team right there. And then you had other guys who are the next guys. Like I said, you could put Dirk Nowitzki, then Allen Iverson, or Allen Iverson, Dirk Nowitzki, or Jason Kidd, then Dirk Nowitzki, or whatever the case may be. But then you have guys like Steve Nash and the Tracy McGrady's and, Vince Carter, Ray Allen, Chris Webber, Ben Wallace, Paul Pierce, Amari Stoudemire. These were some of the names that I was thinking about. Like I said, to me, like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, they're 2010s players. I'm not thinking about them for the 2000s. So to me, those were the guys that were like, the next 5 of the next 10 players, on the list. So if I had to do a top 10, obviously all those guys I mentioned would be in it. That would be 7 players right there. And then, like I said, you go maybe Steve Nash, maybe Tracy McGrady, maybe Chris Webber, I don't know, maybe Ray Allen, maybe Paul Pierce. One of those guys. Those got to be like the next, 3 or 5 guys on that list. So you guys know the deal, man. These are the facts here, man. Much respect to all you guys out there who continue to support my channel, man. Like I said, I'm truly, truly humbled, guys. It really means a lot, man. So those are my top 5 players of the 2000s. Like I said, it's a tough decision, man. Let me know what you guys think, man. And you guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.